Yes guys, welcome back to another Fantasy Football Fix YouTube video. My name is FPL Nacho, and in this video we're going to be discussing some essential picks for your Game Week 9 wildcard. I know a lot of managers out there have activated the chip over the international break, and there are a few players that I deem essential for your squad. So if you are new around here, make sure you do hit that subscribe button, and if you enjoy the video, make sure you do drop a like. So guys, without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so first up we are considering Mo Salah of Liverpool. Now, what I find really interesting about the Game Week 9 wildcard is that for managers that wildcarded in Game Week 8, Mo Salah wasn't an option because of his postponed fixture against Chelsea. However, for those managers that are wildcarding in Game Week 9, they have that fantastic home fixture against Brighton to consider as a bit of a differential for their teams. Now, it's worth mentioning, Brighton, on the face of it, when you look at the stats throughout the season so far, are a very, very tough opponent. But we're going into a bit of an unknown period right now. They have appointed a new manager, but we know the excellent job that Graham Potter had done with the team. And with all their players on international duty, the new manager isn't really going to have a lot of time to implement his ideas onto the side. So I do see this as a good fixture for Liverpool. Now, for those managers that didn't wildcard in Game Week 8 and are wildcarding in Game Week 9, I'm personally one of those managers that done so. I feel like Mo Salah is almost essential for your squads because you start to question, if you didn't wildcard in Game Week 9 and you should have done it in Game Week 8, realistically, Mo Salah was the reason you didn't wildcard in Game Week 8 because you viewed him as a differential. When I look at my team that I'm building for Game Week 9 compared to what I would have done for Game Week 8, the only real big change there is Mo Salah, and that's why I'm viewing him as essential. I feel like it's very rare in FPL that you can almost view Mo Salah as a bit of a differential, and Game Week 9 feels that at home to Brighton. Now, on screen, you can see the stats for him so far this season. A lot of managers out there are viewing him as really underperforming, not doing well, and he always delivers, Mo Salah, even in his periods where we feel like he is having a torrid time. He's third best for expected FPL points of any player. He's fourth best for XG and third best for XA. So what I love about that with Mo Salah is, whereas before his expected goals has been through the roof and he hasn't really been a creative part of the team, a lot of people's arguments have been, oh, he's been creating a lot of chances but not really been the one scoring them. Well, right now we've got such a well-rounded asset in both for the expected goals and the expected assist department. So for me, I'm seeing really promising things for Mo Salah. Now, of course, when we talk about essential players, we need to look at the fixtures going forward. And as I mentioned, I think Game Week 9 is a fantastic opportunity for a differential captain. We know Man City have a tricky fixture against Man United under Ten Hag. I think that's going to be a real cagey affair. We could view Mo Salah as a bit of a differential captain against Haaland in Game Week 9. Now, I think the big question mark right now is Game Weeks 10 and Game Weeks 11. Arsenal away and Man City at home are really not nice fixtures for managers that are going to be owning Mo Salah. But we need to remember that Mo Salah is still one of the best FPL options available, and he has done it in these fixtures time after time after time. We saw Arsenal in their first real big fixture not deliver against Man United, and I still have question marks about Arsenal whether they can really hit them heights in these big affairs. So that's going to be a really interesting game. But for me, although they are tricky fixtures, I've seen Mo Salah do it time after time after time. And importantly, this Liverpool team now has the likes of Thiago back, Fabinho, Matip, who I think is absolutely essential, and Diego Jota. I don't see any of those rotation risks for Mo Salah, but what I do see is their team elevating with those players in that spine. So I think this could be a much better Liverpool side than we've seen so far this season in those fixtures. Now, looking at the projected points going forward, Mo Salah is projected to score 31 points over the next 5 game weeks, which is the best of any player, which is worth noting. So again, still really offering that great value at 12.9 million. Now, I think the real debate right now for a lot of managers is, can you go for someone like Kevin De Bruyne over the next 3, and then when Man City blank in Game Week 12, make that sideways move from KDB to Salah, put the captaincy on him at home to West Ham. Now, looking at it over the next 3 game weeks, KDB actually comes out on top, 18 points, but Mo Salah only slightly behind on 17.4. So, yes, I think there is an argument to potentially do KDB for the next 3 and then move to Salah in Game Week 12. But realistically, looking at those projected points, I personally feel like just having Mo Salah from the bat banking on him delivering in this Brighton game is the route to go for. Booking in transfers later down the line is okay to do, but we know how unpredictable FPL can be and injuries can arise from anywhere. So for me, right now, Mo Salah is an essential in those wildcard drafts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I think that he is going to be locked into my team. Next up, let's take a look at a player that has been in a lot of wildcard teams, but I still think is worth considering for your wildcard drafts in Game Week 9. Now, that man is going to be Kieran Trippier. Not necessarily the most glamorous pick compared to the likes of Mo Salah, but still a player that I think needs to be in your wildcard drafts. Now, for those managers that wildcarded in Game Week 8, I'm almost certain that the majority of them have gone for a double up in Nick Pope and Kieran Trippier, which I do think is still a viable strategy. However, looking at the actual underlying stats for Newcastle as a defensive unit, they are still not posting the stats that I would want to see from an expected goals conceded perspective, making me think that a double up in Newcastle, while when it does deliver is going to be huge returns, isn't essential, and another opportunity for those that are wildcarding in Game Week 9 to just have a slight sort of differential to what the Game Week 8 wildcarders had done. Now, of the two, Pope versus Trippier, I think Trippier is the route that I would go down. His stats that you can see on screen there are still really, really solid. He picked up his first assist of the season in Game Week 8. Now, what I am quite interested about is I was expecting to see his expected goals and expected assists slightly higher than what they are, considering the price changes that he's had and the 44% ownership that he has so far in the game. But I think a lot of managers right now have involvement in that Newcastle defence. I think it'd be very brave for you to go against the Newcastle defence in Game Week 9 wildcard, and that's why I think Trippier is the man to go for. Now, he is the third most FPL points of any defender, 6th best expected FPL points. But as I mentioned, Newcastle 10th best for defensive fixtures going forward over the next 5 game weeks. Makes me think if you want to go against it, you can, but I just don't think there is enough of a reason to. 5.3 million is excellent value for a player that is on all set pieces in a proven Newcastle team now who are delivering in the fixtures that they're having. And looking at Fulham, Brentford, Man United, Everton, I think they're decent fixtures to hold Trippier over that period. So for me, while Trippier isn't the most glamorous pick, I feel like he's almost an essential pick now because of the Newcastle ownership. And Trippier over Pope would be the pick for me because I think there's a few differential goalkeepers that we could go for to bat against Nick Pope. So let me know in the comments, guys, what your thoughts are on Trippier. For me, because of the ownership, because of the way that Newcastle are performing right now in fixtures, he feels like an obvious pick and a great value pick at 5.3 million. Next up, let's look at a bit more of an exciting pick in those wildcard teams. And that man is going to be Wilfried Zaha. Of course, didn't have a fixture in Game Week 8 because of the rail strikes that postponed their game against Brighton. But nonetheless, a player that a lot of managers that went for a Game Week 8 wildcard felt that he was too valuable not to bring in early doors and basically just benched him. So he's actually surprisingly quite highly owned, even though he didn't have a fixture in Game Week 8. Now, looking at the underlying stats, a very rare occasion where a player is actually underperforming his expected FPL points, which of course is fantastic reading. 31 FPL points so far this season, but an expected FPL points of 31.49. So again, a player of Zaha's kind of talismanic figure in Crystal Palace. This is excellent reading. 4 goals, 2.99 expected goals. Now, what I want to point out here, of course, is that Wilfried Zaha is on penalties in the Crystal Palace team. So 2.99 expected goals does include penalties. He actually has a 2.23 non-pen expected XG. So, expected goals. So it's worth mentioning that. But again, a lot of managers kind of think, yeah, but he scored a penalty or two. That should not be at all discounted against him. Having penalties is an excellent thing to have in FPL. In particular, someone like Zaha, who is basically their main performer in terms of goal output, chance creation, and just to have penalties is another string to his bow. So I feel that's excellent to see that. Now, as I mentioned, he is first for XG of any midfielder, which is unbelievable, and third best for expected FPL points per game. Slightly changed the bracket there, but he's third best for expected FPL points per game at 6.3 because he's only played 5 games so far this season. So for me, Zaha just seems like a very obvious pick for our FPL drafts. As I mentioned, on penalties, excellent value at 7.2 and a talisman in that Crystal Palace team where we know he's going to get guaranteed minutes. And looking at the fixtures coming up, they actually have the 6th best fixtures on our ticker over the next 5 game weeks. Now, of course, with that Chelsea game at home, which I actually think is an okay fixture for Crystal Palace, I think Potter still hasn't had a lot of time to integrate and talk to his players with the international break now coming ahead. So the Chelsea game's actually skewing the fixture ticker. If we take Chelsea out of it and just look at game weeks 10 to 13, they have the best fixtures. And as I mentioned, I view the Chelsea game at home a decent opportunity because Chelsea defensively still aren't looking watertight. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Zaha to take advantage of that Chelsea backline. Now, looking over the projected points over the next 5 game weeks, Zaha is projected to score 22 points, which is the 6th best of any midfielder. Now, when we compare that to someone like Maddison, who was a very popular wildcard pick, he's predicted to score 26.4 points over that period. So quite a lot more than Zaha, but we have to remember you have to pay 0.8 million more for Maddison. And that's not to say that I'm not against Maddison. I really do think that a wildcard combination of both Zaha and Maddison in your wildcard drafts is an excellent use of your money. So make sure you do have Maddison on your radar. But the player that a lot of game week 8 wildcarders went for was Jarrod Bowen. But over the same period, he's only projected to score 18.9 points. So again, for those managers that are potentially wildcarding in game week 9, I think the combination of maybe Salah, Zaha and Maddison is the route to go for. I don't think we need to necessarily shoehorn Bowen into our team, and could be another opportunity for us to go against those game week 8 wildcarders who went early doors on West Ham's Bowen. So let me know your thoughts in the comments on Zaha, guys. I personally think that he's an absolute lock in our wildcard drafts, and I'd be very interested to know if he is the same for you. So last up, we're going to be taking a look at our last pick for a game week 9 wildcard essential. And again, it is going to be a popular man in Fulham's Mitrovic. Currently 6.9 million. He has been delivering. Now, of course, he did have that blank in game week 8. And this is why I have put him in this stream today, because I feel like question marks have been asked about Mitrovic. And naturally, when a player who's basically scored each and every game blanks in a game week, managers start to think to themselves, has he been overperforming? Is it sustainable? Can he deliver in the following game week? So I want to put him on screen here because even though he has blanked in game week 8, these moments happen. And in the game where Fulham have scored 3 goals, his expected involvement was really low, which was actually quite surprising. I think he had a 0.16 expected goals, very low expected assists. But what I am trying to say is, usually in games like that, Mitrovic would have goal involvement. So I don't really panic too much about that in regards to Mitrovic. Now, looking at the stats on screen here, he has the 4th best XG of forwards, which is great to see. And he has, in the coming fixtures, the 5th best fixtures between game weeks 9 and 13. And it's worth mentioning is 3 of those are at home. Now, a lot of the FPL community have the kind of narrative that Mitrovic is better at home than he is away. I haven't seen too much in the stats to suggest that. But what is noteworthy is that Fulham are undefeated at home in their 3 fixtures so far, with impressive victory also against Brighton, and have scored 7 goals in those 3 games. So while I'm not saying necessarily Mitrovic is better at home, what I am saying is Fulham at home are a force to be reckoned with. With that stadium, I really think it does play to their strength for the crowd right on that touchline. And with Mitrovic playing on that small pitch, it does give him plenty of opportunities to be just completely involved in the game. And with games at home against Newcastle, Bournemouth and Villa in particular, from a defensive perspective, I see that great opportunities for Mitrovic to continue. Now, looking at the projected points over the next 5 game weeks, Mitrovic is predicted to score 23.4 points. And based on it, he still looks like the best value forward in the game. To compare that, Ivan Toney is predicted to score 22.2 points over the same period. And Dominic Solanke, someone who really is starting to show great potential as an FPL option over the coming game weeks, predicted to score 18.8 points. So Mitrovic still the value pick. And although we blanked in game week 8, that shouldn't put off us game week 9 wildcarders, bringing him into our teams as an option. So those are going to be my 4 essential picks, guys, for your game week 9 wildcard. Of course, we're going to be discussing a lot in our videos in the coming 2 weeks about wildcard options, but just wanted to quickly read out a potential draft just so you guys have a little bit of an idea on what sort of direction I'm looking at and some players I'm considering for my wildcard draft. So, goalkeepers, Ward and Gaeta. I think Gaeta at Crystal Palace is going to be the differential goalkeeper to bat against Pope. a defensive 5 of Trippier, Cancelo, James. Those 3 are going to be playing most of the time. And then maybe a Kilman or Guy at 4.5 million. And Patterson right now is the 4.1 million defender of choice. Midfield, Salah, as I mentioned, Zaha. Then Maddison. I think Maddison is an excellent option at that price range. Martinelli, but I think there are question marks because of Arsenal's tough fixtures. I know managers have built up value in Martinelli, but could you maybe bat against it, sell him off and go a little bit differential? That's going to be a brave manager. And Andreas Pereira just because of the price point. And a front 3 of Mitrovic, Haaland and Tony. I did say Tony's projected points weren't the best necessarily, but I still think he is an excellent FPL option. So that's just a quick rundown of the wildcard that I'm currently considering, guys. Of course, I'll be updating you guys in the next stream that we have on Friday and, of course, in next week's video. So as I mentioned, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure you do drop a like. We will be doing videos all week, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a thing. And we will see you in the next video. Take care. Cheers.